Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 200th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Revel Advertising Studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing adequate, Cam. How are you?
Only adequate?
Wow.
Okay, well, I should have said, stupendous for today, considering it's 200.
200th episode.
The big 200.
Can you believe it?
When did we start this thing?
I was...
Summer of 2008.
4 years ago, probably.
Yeah, somewhere around 4 years ago.
About 50 weeks in the year, an episode.
One summer...
I think July or August maybe, of 2018. We can probably find out somehow.
One summer we did every other week.
True.
Our first one, May. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, here we are.
Yeah. Here we are, 200 episodes later. If you're watching on YouTube, we've got sauces out in front of us. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll explain the sauces.
Okay.
Way too excited.
What are we talking about this week? We've got maybe some conference realignment. We have a little bit of recap of the summit recruiting weekend last weekend for Mizzou football. Some Mizzou basketball stuff, a new commitment already for class of 2023. But before we get into any of that, please don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. Leave us a review on the podcast platform that you listen to us on. And you can support us on Patreon, just like our two newest subscribers did, Matthew Tilley and Brandon Garofalo. Thank you both. Newest supporters on Patreon. And if you support on Patreon, you get access to exclusive content. And as soon as we're done recording this regular old episode, we are doing a wing challenge. You can only access this through Patreon, and we're going to...
You're going to consume these condiments.
Yep, and it's going to be painful.
Yeah, we are going to completely rip off the concept of hot ones. We'll probably eat a wing, and then we've written some trivia questions for each other that producer Cameron's going to read, do the questions, and we will proceed through 10 levels of increasingly hot wings together. And we didn't design it very well because it gets hot really quickly.
We have way too many of sauces that are way too hot.
It's like by the third wing, it's like, this is extremely dangerous to your health.
And that's why we're not professionals at this.
No.
You got to leave it up to whatever the guy's name is that does hot ones. I do need to say something because we have a Twitter follower at Jacobson Joshua. He said he would subscribe on Patreon if we did a wing challenge. So
we're doing this for you, buddy.
This is literally the only reason we're doing this. So you better subscribe or else we're coming for you. Really, though, it's okay if you don't subscribe. It still spurred us on. It was a good idea.
Yeah, we're in a recession. We get it.
Yeah, we understand. Money's a little tight sometimes. No big deal. We'll be here for you regardless. But if you want to see us eat the wings, you got to subscribe on Patreon. It's going to be painful. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm looking forward to it.
We got some regular buffalo sauce just to have something edible. Everything else, like half of our hot sauces say use 1 drop at a time. So we'll see how it goes. I guess let's get into the first topic. It's a fun one. According to John Wilner on Twitter, USC and UCLA are planning to leave for the Big Ten as early as 2024.
Was this completely out of left field for you?
Yeah.
It was for me. And maybe I just haven't been following this topic as closely as others this past summer or whatever it's been. But I was shocked by this, and maybe I shouldn't have been. But this, throw out everything, man. Throw out
geography altogether.
Geography. It doesn't exist anymore.
No.
And producer Cameron, I know this is going to drive you crazy because you're a little bit of I wouldn't say OCD, but just a little bit of perfectionist when it comes to certain things. And we are going to have a conference where UCLA is playing against Rutgers in the same conference Or USC versus Maryland? Like, what are we doing here?
It might be faster to go the other way around the globe. Coast to coast.
Just go over the top.
Literally, you have to go over China, and that'll be faster than just going across the old continental. But so that is ridiculous, and that's nuts to me. But I think that is just the direction we are headed in college sports. I mean, we've talked about NIL a lot the last few weeks, and how that's just like causing chaos, and conferences don't matter anymore. And it's a little sad to me because I think that's something that's kind of fun, is especially being a part of something like the SEC, which is a powerhouse of college football.
It just means more.
It just means more, and it's fun to be able to, like, compare how the SEC does it versus some of the other Power 5 conferences, and to say that your team is a part of that, and in both basketball and football, I think the kind of the interconference rivalries are fun, and kind of representing your conference is cool.
Well, didn't the SEC start this whole thing? I mean, not only with adding Missouri and Texas A&M, but they really started it by adding Oklahoma and Texas.
I agree. Yeah, that
geographically it makes more sense than this, but it's kind of like, I feel like that was the first, like,
that was like, we're already full, and we're gonna take two more just because they're like powerhouse programs with a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that was like the first real domino of like, okay, we might be moving to two conferences, like, in the next 10 years. This might be two massive conferences, and I don't know that's where we're headed, but it's going to be different.
Interesting that those two, obviously they're Los Angeles universities, neighbors and everything. Interesting that they wouldn't want to build up the Pac-12 or whatever it is, into something.
Oh, that dream is dead.
Yeah, the Pac-12.
I feel like the Pac-12 has a notoriously terrible leadership, is what I believe I've heard. Like, which is shocking. I know. Like leadership is like, I don't know. They're just not that focused on bettering the conference and stuff, and it has suffered for it in the last decade or so, in my opinion. And maybe that's why these schools are looking to go somewhere else. But what is the Pac-12 when these teams are gone?
Well, that's what I was about to say. Is there? Could you see the remnants of the Pac-12 and the Big 12 joining forces to create this conference of schools nobody wants?
Yeah, it's very possible. When we did our a little hypothetical realignment episode a couple summers ago, that was something that I struggled with, was like those, the Colorados of the world. Like, where does this program fit in, like, geographically? It's just in the middle of nowhere, like Wyoming, some of those, like, kind of mountain west schools. Yeah, wouldn't that be weird if Colorado, like, went back to the Big 12? That would be kind of bizarre.
Yeah. I could see a merging of the leftovers of both of those conferences into a new entity altogether.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
That would be.
We might have to revisit conference realignment and do some hypothetical conferences again.
That'd be fun. Since some, like, actual movement has happened, like, since we did that. Okay, so I have one thing I want to ask you about, and it might be a little bit of a hot take.
Okay. How many Scoville units is this hot take?
Probably at least 1 million.
Okay.
Okay, and this isn't necessarily even, like, my opinion about the topic, but I just kind of wanted to, like, every time somebody brings up Missouri not being in the SEC, it's met with extreme resistance. Like,
oh, just like as a proposition?
Yeah, like, what if Missouri moved to the Big Ten?
Sure.
And I feel like on Twitter, I see so much resistance to that, just like super simple, like, nope, that will never happen. You're an idiot for even suggesting it. But I feel like I don't really see a lot of, like, actual, like, good reasons why maybe Missouri could move. And I'm not saying that there are a lot of great reasons for them to move, but I don't see a lot of reasons that are great for them to stay in the SEC necessarily, is what I should have said. But
money.
Okay, well, that's what I'm getting at, is why do fans, like, prioritize the financial, like, budgets of these schools? Like, what difference does it make if the SEC pays out $65 million at the end of the year, and the Big Ten pays out $62? What's that $3 million difference? Like, what does that change in your life? Why are you worried about the athletic department?
Well, yeah,
budget?
From a fan's point of view, it doesn't really change anything. Except I feel like that's like one thing that's a measurable something to latch onto.
right,
to kind of drive a narrative. And it's something you can look to and be like, more money equals good.
Okay, I
And
can understand that.
So
what about this measurable?
Mm-hmm.
What if Missouri won more in a different conference? And within reason. I'm not saying go to the Sun Belt, but what if Missouri was in the Big Ten, and that means in football over the next decade they're averaging 8.5 wins a year instead of 6.5 in the SEC? I mean, if we knew that for sure, like wouldn't you want that?
Yeah, I think fans would take that for sure. I think the response you would get, I don't think there's very many fans out there that would say, no, I would rather be guaranteed about 2 wins fewer each season.
Yeah, just to make maybe a little bit more money at the end of the year.
Right.
That you'll never see.
Right, because the money aspect is theoretically going to result in better performance down the line.
Sure.
But
I just don't know that the financial aspect is as large between conferences as people think it is, and maybe it was 5-10 years ago, but
I would say comparing the Big 12 to the SEC,
the Big 12 I think is pretty different.
That kind of jump, it's like, yeah. And I don't think there's very many fans, I could be wrong on this, but I don't think there's very many fans that if you rewound to not knowing anything about the last 10 years since we've been in the SEC, I think the fans that are happy in the SEC would have welcomed a switch to the Big Ten. I think if you polled Missouri fans back then, I think there's a decent chance that the Big Ten would be a more favored landing spot over the SEC when Missouri first moved.
That's possible. I'm not advocating that Missouri should move to the Big Ten, but I think that it maybe should be at least met with a little bit more open mind than it is that I've seen online. I'm perfectly happy in the SEC. It's great to be a part of the best football conference in America. And that's probably the biggest reason for me is it's great to be a part of a conference that's not going anywhere. It's not in danger of sinking because its best members are going to leave. We don't have that problem to worry about.
Yeah, and I think people would be resistant to a second change at this point, even if it was the other way around. Mm-hmm. Even if Missouri had moved to the Big Ten and then people were like, well, the SEC would have been good, I think people would be shutting that down.
I agree.
I think it's just like, yeah, we're going to be like proud of where we are right now. And, we don't want to disparage our current situation because we want to be seen as having made the right decision and everything's great.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will throw out that I don't know that it means anything necessarily, but the guy that broke the news this morning about USC and UCLA, John Wilner, added later in the day, don't assume the Big Ten is done. Also added, now this is more of his personal opinion, I guess, really than factual reporting, but he says, if I'm the Big Ten and I want to get to 18, the short list is Washington, Oregon, North Carolina, Duke, and Missouri.
Yeah, I did see that tweet.
So that's, again, just his opinion, but it is interesting. I think that you may see some talk in the next couple of years about who is going to be in the Big Ten next after these two schools.
Yeah, I don't know what the Big Ten would think they have to offer Missouri, though. I think that's, for me, if I'm trying to think about it from the university's point of view and the athletic department's point of view,
right?
I don't know what the Big Ten would be bringing to the table.
No, I think there's almost more motivation from a fan perspective than the people actually making decisions within the athletic department. Like, I think you could make the argument that Missouri's maybe a better cultural fit in the Big Ten. There's probably some more better rivalries in that conference than the SEC, at least at this moment in time. But financially and for the people that are making decisions, actual decisions, when they're looking at the pros and cons, I think it makes a lot more sense to probably stay in the SEC. But I just am curious always, like, what the fans value in thinking about what conference they want to be in. And I know there's a few people that would probably say they'd rather be in the Big Ten, but I understand it either way.
Well, we can find out if people leave us a comment on the YouTube video and let us know what you think. Are you happy in the SEC? Probably. No reason necessarily not to be, but what do you think about
It's
the
tough.
Big Ten and the original decision to switch, all that stuff. I'd be interested to hear people's thoughts. Let's see. Okay, let's move on to a recap of the Summit football recruiting event last weekend. I've just got a couple points here to touch on. I guess the biggest would be that we actually got a commitment out of it, and it was exactly who we said was most likely to pull the trigger if that offer was there from the Mizzou side. Defensive back Nicholas Deloach, he committed to Mizzou, I think just before the event, or like
I think it was
while
like right
it was
after,
happening.
maybe, or maybe he was still on campus when
it was either before, during, or after the event.
I can confirm that's true. And Nicholas Deloach from Cahokia, Illinois, kind of plays at a small school, but definitely a standout player. Where he really separated himself, though, was at a 7-on-7 camp that Missouri saw him at pretty recently, and his recruitment moved very fast once he was discovered, and they realized, okay, I think this guy's good enough to give him a shot. I think it was within a week or two that he was on campus and committed. So his other offers were Northern Illinois, Northern Iowa. So, if we knew that if Missouri wanted to make him a priority, they would probably get him.
Yeah, and it seems like Missouri was confident enough that he would potentially garner more big-time offers.
True. Yeah.
And they wanted to get in before that had a chance to,
For sure, yeah. He's 6'1", 170. He plays wide receiver in high school. He has good hands. He's long arms, athletic build for sure. So, yeah, absolutely the kind of guy that if he has a strong senior year could blow up, and Missouri want to get in before that happens.
Then another little bit of exciting news is offensive lineman Caden Green, who's one of the top players in the state of Missouri for his class, one of the best players, most highly rated players in the country. His reaction and in interviews and stuff after this recruiting event were glowing about his time on campus, and he even went as far as saying like, it's really making him think. Yeah. I'm not getting the words exactly, but paraphrasing.
Yeah.
Missouri made a pitch that I think maybe he wasn't expecting to like as much as he does.
Right.
And both of his parents on Twitter, shouted out the university and specifically said what a good time they had on campus.
Yeah, I think he said something like Missouri threw us for a loop.
Yeah.
So it sounds like whatever pitch they made, obviously he's been to campus 100 times. Like something was different about this visit. I'm sure it was NIL related, but Missouri is in the best football conference in the world. Like we just said, they have the ability to make impressive financial offers, I'm sure, for guys they really prioritize. And I'm sure that Caden Green would be the crown jewel potentially of this class if he were to commit. So he is number one priority right now, probably. And I'm sure he was treated that way.
You don't use NIL as a recruiting tool.
Oh, that's exactly right. I'm sure they didn't talk about it at all.
Nobody does that, especially not Texas A&M.
That's true also.
Did you see that there was a video of Jimbo?
What a bad name.
Yeah. There's a video of him saying to recruits on a visit, he's like gesturing towards the stadium. They're like in the stadium. He's gesturing towards the stands. He says, this place will be full of people, basically saying this stadium will be full of people with a lot of money, and they'll give you some if you come here.
Jimbo's not that interesting of a guy. Like, he's got to be...
His name is the most interesting thing about him.
That's true. Like, he's got to be just offering these guys straight cash. Like, if he's... they're literally recruiting better than anyone in the country. Like, Jimbo's not that exciting, guys. There's something else going on here.
Yeah.
I reached for my water bottle, and I, almost picked up one of these hot sauces. Almost drank it.
Open one up and just set it there.
Yeah, I'll do that later. Okay. Yeah, I'll literally just let that just kind of fill the room, the aroma.
Then the last thing that I have for the Summit recap, I just have down Jamal Roberts.
Yeah.
Take it away from there.
Jamal Roberts was another visitor this past weekend, and he pretty promptly announced a commitment date for this upcoming Sunday. I think that's July the 3rd at noon. And so Jamal Roberts is he's listed as an athlete from St. Mary's, Missouri. He's most likely going to play running back in college, but He's got a fun highlight tape for sure. He's kind of a bigger back. He's 6 foot 200, and has some good speed. Definitely, if he gets out in space, he's gonna blow by you. So, I wouldn't say he's under recruited. I don't know that he has like, a lot of SEC offers or anything like that. But a lot of like Power 5 level schools are interested for sure, and have offered. So I think that would be a pretty good get.
Do you have a prediction?
I think it's Missouri.
Okay.
I feel pretty good about Missouri's chances there.
Off the top of your head, Caden Green, his commitment date is
July 8th.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So that's coming up. And I mean, we talked about it last week. Like Missouri had the final say in his recruitment. They were the last official visit. They pretty much had to pull out all the stops to have a remote shot, and they did that. And
so they
we'll
have
see.
a remote shot.
I would definitely say I'd give Missouri a shot in this one, and I don't know that I would have a few weeks ago. I still think Oklahoma is probably a 60 to 70% favorite, but I don't think that I'd be completely blown away if it's Missouri.
Okay, I think that'll do it for our summit event recap. Looking forward to those commitment dates. Now we'll switch gears and go basketball. First thing I have here, big news. Former Mizzou guard Phil Pressey is returning to Mizzou basketball as a graduate assistant. Mm-hmm. So he'll be on the bench, helping the guys, learning from Coach Gates, and apparently taking graduate level classes at the university.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I gotta love this for sure. I mean, Phil Pressey is... I don't know, man. He's kind of a legend, and
for sure
from I would say our glory days for sure. Watching Mizzou basketball, like was those 2012, 2013 seasons for sure. Gotta love Phil Pressey.
Yeah, all-time leader in assists in only 3 seasons, and I think tied for first all-time in steals.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they that 19-19 game he had at UCLA was insane.
If he had stayed for a 4th year, he could have, wiped the floor with the record books there.
Yeah, I think about that all the time. Like, what would have happened if he stayed another year? But
I think back in the day, I actually projected what if he repeated his junior season as far as assist numbers. Mm-hmm. If he repeated that his senior year, I think he would have been something like 7th all time in the history of Division I basketball.
He had some serious offensive weapons to distribute to in a couple of his years for sure, but that doesn't change how talented he was.
Speaking of former Tigers that are very talented, Jonte Porter and Jeremiah Tillman will be participating in the NBA Summer League. Jonte with the Nuggets and Tillman with the Orlando Magic.
I was a little surprised to hear about Jonte. I kind of feel like I haven't heard about him in a while, and he dealt with some knee injuries and stuff. So, pleasantly surprised to hear Jonte's going to get another shot. And I think this is Tillman's, this will be his 2nd summer league.
Yeah, he's been grinding in the I don't know, the minor leagues basically, trying to make his breakthrough.
I loved watching the summer league a few years ago. Sometimes I feel like I enjoy it almost as much or more than the actual NBA season, because it's a lot of college guys I know and stuff, and just
and they're working hard to try to get a roster spot.
I think that's why I like it, is because I can just tell they're just giving them 100%,
mm-hmm.
and that's not always the case in especially regular season NBA games. It's just not always the case. But the summer league games, man, they're trying as hard as they possibly can.
Don't get Kyle started on the NBA.
No, I'm an old man about it.
His inner boomer will come out.
Yeah, it's definitely true.
All right, then the biggest news on the basketball side of things is we got a commitment. Anthony Robinson II. I guess not junior, the second.
The second, yeah.
A 3-star point guard from Tallahassee, Florida. I kind of just picked him up right out of Florida State's backyard.
Right out of their breadbasket.
Literally out of their the high school that is affiliated with the university.
Something tells me that he knows Missouri State, or not Missouri State. Missouri has a connection with Florida State.
Yeah.
Could be wrong about that, but
I watched some of his highlight videos on YouTube. I was impressed, honestly. I think he didn't look like a 3. Honestly, the recruiting services have him as a fringe 3-star / unranked point guard. I was pretty impressed. I think his shooting form looks terrific. That looks like, just get some reps in the gym, and with that shooting form, he ought to be able to shoot lights out. I don't see any reason not. And he's very athletic, I think, for a point guard. Good size. Needs to put on some weight. He's listed at 6'3", 155.
Pretty thin.
A little slender, but...
Would you say that, at least in his highlights, he lives up to the nickname Ankle Bully?
Yeah, his nickname is Ankle Bully.
I think that's great, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of an aggressive nickname. He definitely has some nice little dribble moves, hesitation, in-out dribble, stuff like that. And I think sure.
Okay.
I've never heard that one before.
I haven't either.
So
I like it.
Points for originality.
For sure. This staff is going crazy with offers in a good way.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm loving this, man. This is like just everything that we were hoping for in the previous coaching staff, for sure. I mean, it is as opposite as you could possibly ever see.
Yeah, it's almost like we haven't really been mentioning every single offer that goes out because there's just too many. And when it gets a little bit closer, but, we didn't really see this. This kind of came out of nowhere. Yeah. He was on campus, and they offered him, and he committed just really quick. Definitely, I think I saw an Auburn offer maybe, but and Florida State just offered right before he committed. So I think that was another example on the basketball side of Missouri finding a guy they wanted and wanting to just lock it up before too many big players get involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure he already had somewhat of a relationship with Coach Young and maybe Coach Gates himself.
How many spots do they have for the 23 class?
That's a great question. Somebody knows it.
I mean, they have quite a few guys who are seniors.
Yeah.
I'm doing air quotes because of COVID year.
I think there's 3 that can't come back at all, and then maybe 3 more that could leave or could come back.
Yeah, I feel like there's going to be at least 5 or 6 vacancies probably.
And there's always transfers, count on it.
Have you noticed? I feel like Missouri they've been putting out some basketball content, some off-season stuff. I feel like Aiden Shaw's been killing it, and as far as what I've seen.
Yeah, specifically, they posted a video of him doing a max vertical. It was leading. It's not like
jumping up and touching the.
Yeah, but what's it called when you just stand still?
Vertical leap.
Yeah, I don't know. Max vert is like when you get a few steps running into your jump. The other one
Standing's
is just
vertical.
Yeah, standing vertical.
Yeah, he has unbelievable.
Measured 49 inches.
That's crazy. Insane. And I mean, he's already tall and long too, so I feel like he could probably touch 15 feet in the air.
Pretty close.
He could dunk on a 14-foot goal.
Yeah, I don't know. There was people on Twitter saying shot blocker, and I knew he had, with his size and athleticism, good defensive versatility. But I never really thought of him as playing the 4 and then being kind of like a rim protector. If he can do that, sounds good to me.
Yeah, he'll see the floor pretty quickly if he can do that.
Yeah, but they've been posting weight room stuff, some practice stuff.
Isaiah Mosley's there.
Yep. I don't know. I eat all of that stuff up. Obviously, probably most of our listeners do.
Eat it up like hot wings.
Yeah. Any glimpse of the team with the new faces and.
Yep.
I want all of it.
Can't have all of it, dude. There's 75 of them.
75 wings. We're going to put 1 drop of ghost pepper sauce on each one of them. That's about it. Except for
think so.
Wing eating. More news, honestly, than we're used to this time of year.
Yeah.
So, special thank you to our Patreon supporters at the $10 level and above: Britt Treese, Brian Smith, Ryan Demore, Tristan, Ben Smith, Parker, Daddy JD, Luis Hernandez, Tim Keynes, Tyler Harsel, and Brandon Garofalo. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Brandon. And you can find this podcast on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and Spotify. We're on Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod. We just uploaded our new logo, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
You can find our restocked t-shirts of the original logo, stickers, the new stickers, go check those out. Got the new Tiger logo at MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Subscribe to Patreon to see the Wing Challenge, and we will see you next week.